Do you have some scrap fabric, a composition notebook, and 30 minutes? Well, let's make the cutest composition notebook cover, junk gal style. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. I'm so glad you're here. Here, once again, we're turning scrap fabric, these are from my friend Carol, into treasures. Today I'm showing you how to make the most adorable composition notebook cover, and it should only take you about 30 minutes. But look how cute. I made one to put my YouTube schedule in here, and I did add a pocket for a pen, just like that, and I added a fabric label. And it does have a little tie on it. So let's jump in and make something beautiful together. And if you're looking for more inspiration, I would recommend the channel, The Quilted Forest. I'm going to show a clip here. I made my granddaughter the cutest composition notebook cover using her method, and there's nothing wrong with her method because it turned out beautiful. My granddaughter loved it. But I thought I would make a super simple, easy version for all of you. Let's get started with the materials you're gonna need. You're gonna need the composition notebook. This one is, and look at all my notes. This one measures 9.75 inches by 7.5 inches this way. When you open it up, it is 19 inches. I came up with a number for the batting. You'll need a piece of batting that's 30 inches by 12 inches. The reason I did 30 by 12 is it gives you a chance to do some trimming if you need to, yet it gives you the freedom to have fun with your quilt as you go. So we may trim off a 1/2 inch at the top and a 1/2 inch or so on the sides once we fit this up. Okay, so you're gonna need some fabric scraps. I have some 2-inch strips here. And then I have these cute triangle pieces. I thought that I would use these up. So I'm gonna use these towards the center, and I thought I would use these on the edge. We'll see how it turns out. This is for the center. You probably won't even see it, but you do need a piece of fabric, and it's going to measure 6 inches by 12 inches. It's just a rectangle. Some pinking scissors, or if you have a pinking blade in your rotary cutter. Otherwise, you can just cut it so that it has a raw edge. And then your basic sewing supplies, any scissors, rotary cutter, cutting mat, whatever you want to use, and your sewing machine. I am doing decorative stitches. I did do decorative stitches on this one. You can kind of see that. And then here's where I cut with the pinking shears. To get started, what I want to do is just kind of take a peek. The first thing I want to do is take a peek to see how I want to lay these out. And these are the triangles. I'm just going to start. We want to see where the center is and go from there. And I just need a pin for that. I just added a pin in the top center of this piece of batting. Then I'll take my first piece of fabric, and these are in triangles. So I will lay the first triangle in the center here, and I'm going to need one that has a straight edge, and we're going to do a stitch and flip. So I'm just gonna flip this over, and hopefully you can see that. Let me bring you closer for that. There we go. So I laid my fabric face up this triangle. I want it to end up like this. So I'm just gonna flip this over, take it to the sewing machine, and do a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way up. Easy peasy, and we're just gonna flip this up and give that a quick press. And you could just finger press it as well. That would work too. And then we're gonna grab another triangle, and this will end up like this. I think I'll press that. It's gonna end up like that. So we'll just flip this like that to the sewing machine, 1/4 inch seam allowance. And if you're more comfortable penning it, you could do that as well. Back from the sewing machine, we're going to flip up, quick press. We'll go to the other side and pick a fabric for that. How about something wild and crazy? So we know this has to go like this, and we'll flip that, and let's give that a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We're back, flip that, Now, I thought it would be fun to switch to some strips. So we'll put our triangles away. Of course, you could do another triangle and go to strips. Let's do this. So we'll lay this one here. And I am going to pin because I'm going to do 2 sides at a time. So I pin that in place. Let's do, and we're not worried if it's too long because we're going to trim this up later. And we'll lay this one there. We'll go ahead and pin that. Back to the sewing machine, 1/4 inch seam allowance. And we'll flip this side and then pick a couple more fabrics. We have that one there. How about this one here and this one here? 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'll go ahead and finish my strips and I'll be right back. And just like that, we have our quilted cover. We're going to flip it over and we're just going to trim along the edge of the batting, removing any excess fabric. Doesn't have to be perfect at this point. We know that this is the center of the piece. What we want to do is get a center for we want to find the center for a ribbon placement. And we know that this is 12 inches. So we'll just measure up 6 inches. We will put a pin in there. And we'll just put a pin in here. And I'm putting it just like that so that I have an inch on the other side. And I can see it. And I'm just going to grab some seam binding or whatever type of ribbon you want to use. And then take the center of the seam binding, place it where that pin is, and then pin from the other side. And then just do a zigzag to attach that. And that's it. So we can take this pin out so we don't sew over it. And then we're just going to do a zigzag right there. And then trim off any threads you might have. And here is what that will look like. And we'll just scrunch this up in there. Now is time to do a little marking. We know that we have our, oh, I almost forgot. If we want to have a pocket, now is the time to add it. So we're just going to take, see this blue here? What we're going to do, this piece is about 12 inches. So we're just going to fold a 2-inch strip in half, just like that. Take it to the sewing machine and just do a zigzag on both sides. And I think what I'll do is, to be consistent with the outer edge, I'm going to take this strip, cut with my pinking shears the edge, and stitch down the pocket with a straight stitch. So it'll be on here. You want to overhang a little bit because we will come and sew along the bottom. So we're just going to do a straight stitch on both sides to create that pocket, and it'll look like that. And here's what the pocket looks like, and you can stick a pin in there just like that. So that's done, and then we'll trim off the bottom. Now we can flip this over. We know our center's here, and we know that our center is here. So we want to put the book in, and then what I do is I'm going to make a mark here and here, just at the top. Then I know that I want to sew in the center here when I go to sew around the complete edge. And then what we want to do, we measured that. We're going to fold this over. I can see already that I probably want to trim this about 1 inch off this side. I don't think I'm going, yeah, I'll trim half of this. So that's about 1 inch. So I'll take 1 inch off both sides. All right, and then one more time I want to see where we're going to, yes, that is a great fit. And remember the square, the rectangle? We are now ready to put this in, and I just do a quick mark to show me the center of that. We'll take that to the sewing machine and just sew a straight stitch on both sides. 1/4 inch. This is not only called Quilt As You Go, it's also called Sew As You Go. And I really like doing projects that way. And sew a decorative stitch, leaving yourself enough to give yourself room to do a trim with the pinking scissors. So both short sides, go ahead and do a decorative stitch. And you could also do a zigzag stitch. I've got my decorative stitch on the short edge of both sides. Now I can trim it up pretty with the pinking scissors. Just give that a pretty trim. Just don't go into the thread. And if you wanted, now would be the time, if you wanted to add buttons to the front or anything else, now would be the time. You could really decorate these in any way you want. It's a sew as you go, quilt as you go project. So many possibilities. Let's get this trimmed. There we go. And remember, our pencil case or our pencil pocket is right there. Our pin for our center is right there. Okay. Go ahead and do a dry fit. Make sure everything is where you want it. Perfect. Go ahead and pin. The top and the bottom. And I'm going to go ahead and cut off our middle flap here just to make it easier for sewing. And then we will pin down here. Now, if you wanted at this time, you could put on your walking foot because this is going to be quite thick. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to sew to leave me room to do the trimming with my pinking shears. So what I've been doing is it is 1 inch, and then I want to sew my stitch at 1/2 inch, and that leaves me 1/4 inch to trim off. So we're going to do that on the top and the bottom, and I'll be right back. It is all sewn, and then this is what it looks like with the long edges sewn. What we're going to do now is take our pinking scissors, give that a trim, again staying away from the seam, but as close to it as you can get. And it's going to be very thick. And again, if you wanted, you could just trim it with scissors and leave it just a raw edge. That would be perfectly fine too. How cute is that? The possibilities. I mean, you could use these for gratitude journals, a daily journal, a prayer journal. Okay, and our pencil case is right there. And you simply take the sleeve, slide it in, and then slide this in. And there you have it. It fits pretty good. It's pretty snug. And if you wanted, I didn't do it on this one, but we could add a label. You know what? We can still add a label to this. Since I forgot to sew this on, all I did is I just went to the sewing machine and took a couple stitches and put a couple stitches in, and I just added some Heat and Bond Light to the back. And I'll just trim this, peel this off, and we'll put it right there. We'll just eyeball it and we'll iron that on there. There we go. And there's the edges after I trimmed. And I believe this looks darling. Let's try out our ribbon. There's enough here if you want to tie it around a couple times, you could. And look at that. Isn't that darling? I think it would make a great gift. And the reason I love this is because you can put these together so quickly. You could use, like here, I used some quilt blocks that I had. This was quilt as you go and sew as you go. I hope you'll let me know in the comments what you think. Before I go, I just want to remind you of something. God created each of us with unique gifts and talents. And there is so much joy in embracing who we are. Whether you're sewing as you go, or quilting as you go, or simply being yourself, remember that your uniqueness is a gift. Just like each one of these journals, they're all unique. They never come out alike. The sizes are never the same. And we use different fabrics. As Galatians 6:4 reminds us, but let each one of us test our own work, and then his reason to boast will be in himself alone and not in his neighbor. So I encourage you to be you. Do your own thing and let it shine for his glory. I thank you so much for watching today. If you like this video, I'm sure you'll like my scrap fabric prayer journal video as well. And until the next video, God bless you.